Henry VIII is widely regarded today as one of England's most fearsome and ruthless kings, and not without good reason. However, there was a time during his reign when his power was limited. In this video, we're going to have a very quick look at the ways in which Henry's power in terms of crime and justice were limited, what Cromwell did to try and improve the situation, and how he was able to do it. So let's start with the first issue, that of the legal liberties enjoyed by some people. One thing that's very important to remember about Tudor England is that there was no organised national police force as we might recognise today. Instead, law and order was enforced by a system of justices of the peace. These were men, and they were always men, drawn from the middle classes who exercised power in the local area. They had the power to arrest, to imprison, and to send to trial. Obviously, this system was full of problems, because what might get you arrested in one county might not get you arrested in another, because it entirely depended on how good the justice of the peace was and how corrupt or not he was. So it was a bit of a haphazard system. A further element that frustrated the king's attempts to extend royal power nationwide was this issue of local liberties. By custom, and for many generations, certain landowners around the country exercised the liberty to arrest, try and imprison citizens on their land, subjects to themselves as they saw it. Now, this clearly made a mockery of the king's law. The king is supposed to be the supreme head of England, in charge of all the laws of the land, enforcing it through his royal officers. You could only be arrested in the king's name. You should only be tried in the king's name, because you're offending the king's laws. So how could it be that local lords would be trying and imprisoning people on their land as if they are the kings? This is clearly something that Henry is not going to swallow. So what did Cromwell do in order to try and solve this issue of the limitation of the king's power through liberties? Well, in 1536, Cromwell used his extensive experience as a member of Parliament and his extensive legal skills in order to pass a new law through Parliament that abolished liberties. So that was fairly simple. However, there remained a second problem limiting Henry's power, and this was the issue of church sanctuary. And in this case, Cromwell had to use a different set of rules. Let's have a look at that next. So the issue of church sanctuary was one that sounds very peculiar to us today. Under Henry's reign, a criminal or a fugitive could seek sanctuary within a church building. So somebody trying to escape the long arm of the law could just hide, literally, in the building of a local church, and he would be given sanctuary there. Nobody could arrest him or her whilst they were in the building. In some cases, you only had to hold on to a knocker, and by simply holding on to the knocker of the door, you wouldn't be able to be arrested. Again, clearly this was a massive problem for Henry. How can fugitives, people who've broken the king's laws, simply just go and find sanctuary in a church? It stank, and the king didn't like it. How could the church be exercising that power, which was his? And it was his, because in 1540, Henry, through Cromwell, abolished the right of sanctuary, and he had the power to do this because he'd been made supreme head of the church in England. So now Henry could make laws governing what went on in the churches. And this is one of the things, through Cromwell, that Henry did. So here you have two problems facing Henry VIII during his reign: the problem of local liberties and the problem of church sanctuary. Both of these were issues in Crime and Punishment. They were both settled by Thomas Cromwell, in the first case using his skills in Parliament to pass a law abolishing local liberties, and in the second case using the newfound powers that Henry had as head of the Church of England in order to get rid of church sanctuary. In history and in politics, we call this process centralisation. This is the act of the government taking powers away from local people and local areas to themselves, the government centralising power. Henry VIII is widely regarded as one of the foremost centralisers of government power in English royal history.